Several years ago, the Miller Brewing Company had a series of commercials that joked about unwritten men laws. Laws like this: men do not iron their jeans. Men do not leave sporting events early. Hugs between men are acceptable as long as it's just one arm. And dating your best friend's ex-girlfriend is allowed only after a 6-month waiting period. At the end of each of these commercials, it would end with the phrase, "man up." Here's what we kind of know, is there is a bit of an obsession on the part of men with being manly. And I know the majority of you who are watching are women, and you think this is sort of silly. This whole business of men needing to be tough, needing to be brave, needing to be courageous, needing to be heroes. But let's face it, for many of us as men, that's how we are wired. And here's what else we know. The church isn't necessarily wired for men. Folks, this week I am talking about why men hate the church. And if you're watching on Facebook, would you do a couple of things for me? Would you check in on Facebook? Would you share this post? Would you like it? Help us get the word out. If you check in, we have a generous donor who's donating $5 every time you check in to our Backpack Attack program. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Go ahead and hit the bell, get notifications. And if you're watching on Cable Access 181, invite a friend to watch with you tomorrow, especially if they're a man. Here's what we know about the church. The church, over the last 50 years, has increasingly become a place of women. 61% of the people in pews at churches are women, while just 39% are men. And that percentage of men has been increasingly on the decline over the last 50 years. Here's a little anecdote. You're at a construction site at the end of a long, hard day. You have a bunch of guys standing around, and one of the guys says to his buddy on the work site, he says, "What are you guys doing tonight?" And one of them says, "Oh, I think I'm going to go up to the bar and grab a beer." Another says, "Oh, I have tickets to the ball game, tickets to the races." And that's when the friend says to the last guy standing there, "Sam, what are you doing tonight?" And he says, "Well, actually, I'm going to church. We have a Wednesday night service." And here's what happens. If you've ever experienced that, here's what happens. That group of guys goes silent. It's kind of like when I'm on an airplane and I sit down next to a guy who's a macho, athletic sort of guy, and we talk about what he does for a while, and then he inevitably asks the question, "Well, what do you do?" And I admit I am a pastor at a church in Minnesota. And you know what happens 9 times out of 10? The rest of the flight is silent. It's silent. Because for whatever reason, the church and men have had a hard time connecting. The author of a book under the same name of our series this week, Why Men Hate the Church, he surveyed a bunch of men and he found a list of all the excuses men give for not going to church. Number 10 is, "I don't have time." Number 9 is, "Church just doesn't work for me." Number 8, "It's boring." Number 7, "It's irrelevant to my life." Number 6, "I don't like the pastor." Number 5, "I don't want to talk about it." Number 4, "It's too long." Number 3, "They ask for money too much." Number 2, "It's for wimps." And last but not least, the number 1 reason is there are too many hypocrites there. Here's what we know. That list could be used for women who don't attend church as well. But here's what we know. Even though that's a reality for women, just like it is men don't go at the same rate that women do. And I want to suggest part of that has to do with the 2 images we have of Christ. Churches often have 2 images. One of them is the lamb, and the other is a lion. It's very biblical. In the Bible, it talks about Jesus as both the lamb as well as the lion. And when it talks about the Lamb, it talks about Jesus, in ways that are often talked about in Galatians chapter 5. In Galatians chapter 5, it says this, but the fruit of the Spirit are things like love and joy and peace and kindness and goodness and faithfulness and gentleness. This is the way that the church often describes who Jesus is. And so the church begins to be formed in such a way that ministry becomes more about caring and tending. And so the church is developed around ministries like circles and teas and quilting and making meals. These are the sorts of things churches often do. And if you think about those things churches often do, they're primarily for women. But there's another image of Jesus in the Bible. The lamb is a beautiful one, but often the other one that is often missing in the church is the image of the lion. This is the image of Jesus who on the day he rode into Jerusalem for the final time on Palm Sunday, the first thing he did, and we often don't talk about this, the first thing he did when he got to Jerusalem is he climbed the steps of the temple. He overturned the tables of the money changers. He got angry. He declared that what the money changers were doing was all wrong, that the temple had become a sort of sham. It's this lion sort of image of Jesus that's bold, that's aggressive, that's decisive, that's brave. Now, I don't want to play into stereotypes too much, and I don't want to come off as a sexist. But there's something wired in us men that is wired toward adventure. This isn't about hellfire and brimstone. This isn't about men needing to be aggressive or judgmental. It's probably, I think about the book that I read as a kid. C.S. Lewis, you may have read The Chronicles of Narnia. The Christ figure in that book is what? It's Aslan, the lion, huh? Kind of interesting. You see, I think for most men, there's this internal struggle with church. We know it's good for us, but we struggle to relate to it because it's often, there are often feminine images and feminine ministry that make up the majority of the church. To put it absolutely bluntly, for men, often church is seen as something for little old ladies. You see, churches too often don't take the time to create environments for men that are welcoming for men, that speak and use images of their real life. Over the next couple of days, I'm going to wonder with you, what are the ways that we as the church could speak into the realities of men's life? Because here's what we know. They're missing. And when one part of God's body is missing, we all miss out. Folks, we'll see you tomorrow night.
Even though I walk through the valley, you are near. And even though I know you are with me, I still fear. When I think it's over, you reach in and pull me through.